Welcome. Take it up with Jessica Lee. I'm here with David Shao, who is the Director of Marketing Technology at ServiceNow. David, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Marketing has become so technical, very data science, right? And you are in charge of the technology to enable this marketing engine at ServiceNow.
That's right. A marketing technology ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's lots of engine in there.
That's right. I mean, you have 50 people on your team, so tell us about, first of all, your responsibility, and then I'm very interested in knowing how do you structure your organization to be effective and efficient?
Yeah, sure. So we have grown very rapidly. We recently crossed that 50 people line. This is a pretty huge organization, and management and the team responsibility has become quite difficult from as we grow in such a rapid rate. We being in marketing technology, we have a very strong development team. These are front-end developers and back-end developers. And what the developers build is not just the website, but we build a series of back-end services that enables marketing. And what we build is components and skeletons, or what we call a content management system that enables the rest of the company to build web pages that it's available for the entire world to see. With the components and the templates that we build in the CMS, we enable our own publishing team to build web pages. So the publishing team goes in and configure the web pages, drop in the content, and make sure that the pages are located in the correct information architecture as they intended to be. And then finally, we have our QA team. So we made a decision to have a QA team separate from the development team so that they can act as a more of a check and balance, and they're guardians of quality of the entire external presence, right? And then we also have a team where it's kind of a new concept. It's called MarTech Ops.
Okay.
Right, so the little difference between a general marketing operation versus a MarTech operations is that the MarTech operation handles they're pretty much bridging the gap between the general marketing operation and the development team. So an example will be, say, if marketing automations team require a certain variable, or our analytics team needs certain variables to be implemented in order to build a specific design dashboard. So the MarTech Ops is the one that communicates into our development team, making sure that this concept or this information is properly understood on both sides, making sure that the tracking can actually happen as our business intended, and that variable is properly implemented by the development team. So this is it's a very special team for me that sort of what I call it is the team that actually make the train run on time.
Okay.
Yeah, making sure that every train gets to the station that they need to and arrive on time.
Now you have a team called the architects, right? Explain why you need architects, even though you have a dev team already.
Yeah, so I have a couple architects that report directly to me instead of into the development team. So as always, the team's mission is to be able to provide the best experience and build the best product with the highest quality. So we have to have we have this concept called bulletproofing. So everything that we build, we don't only build to a spec that was introduced to us, but the development team, both front end and back end, and the architects, I encourage them to explore the best method. And development team generally come up with something that they are most comfortable with. But having the architects, they get to see the bigger picture. So they interact with different part of the organization. Sometimes they interact with our IT counterparts. Sometimes they will work with different areas in the marketing organization, and maybe even different business units. So they understand the bigger landscape. So certain solution provided by the development team may be the best that it is technology wise, but it may not be the best for the entire company,
Yes.
right? Or it's an implementation method that is easiest to get to the goal, but it actually accumulates technology debt. And then so now the architect is there to make sure that this is addressed appropriately.
Very good. That's smart. Okay, so you got the architects, the operations, MarTech operations team, the QA team, dev team,
and the publishing team.
Publishing team.
Yeah.
All right.
And then we also have a couple BSAs, the business system analysts, and their responsibility is to receive the business requirement and translate that to a language that the developers can understand, and also be the representative on the other part of the communication, where if the development team has a recommendation or has caution to maybe performing this task in a different way, and how it gets properly translated into a business language. That is the core function of our BSA, is to be that translator.
Okay. Let me shift to asking that in order to do marketing very well, you have to have the whole flow of data, right? And I know ServiceNow is all into workflow automation. So do you actually apply some of your own products in the marketing technology function?
Oh yeah, so we have a concept called Now on Now. So entire company promotes using. We promote the entire company to use our own platform for as many ways we can innovate. In May 2018, we are on the cover of the Forbes magazine, being the #1 most innovative company. And we try to do as much innovation as we can. We build the product to explore multiple different ways of applying that product in many different areas. So not as simply ticket in, ticket out, but we can use it for a community. We have used it for documentation. At one point, we actually host the ServiceNow website through ServiceNow platform, because each one of the ticket in conceptual way of thinking is that a ticket is a web page. You can build the entire website structure and have a content management system using our own platform, and every time you update the web page, it also automatically records a version. It has the proper change control, the page history.
Right. Okay.
Right? So we try to use our product in as many ways as possible. They're a company who they're a company out there like Salesforce, who's most well known for their CRM.
Yes.
In ServiceNow, we use ServiceNow as our CRM.
Okay.
We built the entire CRM on ServiceNow.
Okay.
So this is the extent that we use ServiceNow.
Right.
Internally.
So the platform is very flexible to create features and functions that address certain departments' needs.
Yes.
Right. One of the challenges I see is that a lot of different teams have their own knowledge. Right. You've got knowledge for, let's say, the community knowledge. You've got knowledge in the marketing department. You got knowledge in the product team. So all of these knowledge may be residing in different places. How do you optimize content for different functions that maybe, instead of creating repetitive content because it's kind of siloed,
yes.
How do you leverage the content to use across departments?
Yeah. So in one of the biggest initiatives that we're working on is not simply leveraging or reusing content only, right? So there's lots of data that we use, more so than just content. So there's digital asset, there's actual content. There's the activity data, right? All the profile data that associate to every visitor. These are all things that can be used across the entire marketing stack, the ecosystem. We need to build a core function that tracks the people's all our visitors' profile, and then now we can break down all the different elements and deliver them like you would break everything down to the smallest pieces, and atomize it,
Right.
and then reassemble it for just that particular visitor.
Okay.
Right. So if we're building content in modular pieces, in what we would call it,
Yes.
components.
Yes. Yes.
And also we have what's called the content fragments.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are different assets that can be used on the website. It could be used on our email, or it could be used in the event, and potentially we can even make that as part of the mobile applications assets.
Right. Right.
We don't have to recreate the same asset multiple times, right? But what we will have to do is to piece it together differently, based on what that visitor's profile is.
Right, right. You configure the pieces together, create this journey for a specific persona.
Yes.
Okay, to tell a certain story.
Yes.
Okay. So David, I want to ask about the strategy, okay? Because I think sometimes people just like buy this technology, that technology, because there's a need. And over time, you end up with too many pieces of technology and it becomes a big mess. So what's your best practice in approaching building the IT stack for marketing? Like what's the overall strategy?
Yeah, so for a MarTech technology stack, it's very different than what an IT technology stack or enterprise application stack would be, because they all have a common purpose. And the common purpose generally is meant for sales enablement, for marketing, right? Lead gen, or marketing centric. But the new concept is to enrich that CDP, right? Because if we look at 3 layers,
CDP, right, is customer data profile. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, platform. And,
a platform.
If we look at that core profile, this is going to enable us to know everything about the visitor.
Okay.
Right. It's a unified view of everything this visitor is doing, or were at times about to do. Right. Okay. It's a history and a
prediction.
And a small portion of that prediction.
Okay.
So then the strategy is to find the gap. How are you going to build this perfect profile, right? Because your technology needs to enable, or to be supportive of what that profile is. So you could have 5 technology and that builds a perfect CDP or the perfect profile. Versus maybe you have identified a lot of gap and then you need 15. But what you definitely don't need is 50 technology that contribute to only a small portion of the CDP.
Right, that may be overlapping what they do, and still you have gaps.
Exactly. Okay. There may be 2 data enrichment platform. They have only 10% differences. But at one time, an organization have bought in different teams, and they overlap in the CDP. So now it actually creates a problem, because which data are you going to take? Right. So that's the core function, is the CDP, or in our case, that core profile system. And then you have all the technology that enables filling that white space. And then you have this top layer, is how are you going to deliver that best experience to people who are here to obtain this content, or to absorb the digital assets. And so you have a different set of technology to do content targeting, right? So there are technology like Google Optimize. Adobe has something called the Test and Target. It's now called Target, right? And it allows you to analyze that profile, and you can define the segment, and with all the content that is available, basically regroup them to a experience that this particular persona need.
Okay.
Right. And you can also track or enable that journey differently based on that persona, and all this is driven by that profile that you have built together. And this profile has many stage in its life cycle. So maybe people think that only when you tell me that you're Jessica is when I can give you something that is relevant to you, which is not true. Our profile starts at the time when you anonymously landed on our site,
Mm.
and you have an identity that we've been tracking already.
Okay.
So throughout the journey, as you reveal more about yourself, reveal more about your intent, we're actually enriching that profile constantly. And then once you provided your information, you may even create an account.
Okay.
Now we can start applying even more personalized data, more personalized recommendation to this particular visitor, and nurture you and convert you into our customer.
I see. So for anonymous to
Suspect, and then become a prospect, and then we'll eventually
be a customer.
hopefully
That's
that
the goal.
you become. Yeah, that's.
But it doesn't end there because then you have to retain me
That's
and
right.
grow. Okay.
Yeah, we built lots of initiative using the same system for customer success. We want you to be a very successful customer, right?
And refer new customers.
Yes. ServiceNow has a very low churn rate, and we take customer success very seriously.
Okay, David, I'm going to ask you now about challenges because I know everybody's got challenges, especially ServiceNow is growing so quickly. You must have challenges. What are your challenges?
Yeah, I welcome challenges. This is one reason I wake up every day. I'm very excited to come to work to see what is my challenge today.
What can you solve?
Exactly. I love problem solving. So yeah, as you mentioned, that ServiceNow is a very rapid growth company, and with all the hyper growth company, you have that growing problem. My team has grown very, very rapidly to the size we have today. A lot of what we have is that you have a lot of newer people, right? And everybody brings a special set of talent and skill sets to the team, but it still requires time for them to gel,
That's right.
And then there's that historical knowledge that also needs time to digest. So if you have multiple waves of workforce that's coming in, the newer workforce brings new talent, new thinking, but they need to digest what has been done before, the tribal knowledge. Then you have the more senior people who has been on the team. This applies to the entire company, right? Then it has been doing things in one way when the company is much smaller or in an early time, right? And then as the company becomes more mature, it gets bigger, lots of things starts to evolve. And so the challenge is how we can evolve that generation as well. So that also leads to another challenges, other than having a rapidly growing team. By hiring good people is a challenge. Changing the process is a challenge. The process that worked yesterday may not work for today, or it definitely will not work tomorrow, right? So and the business direction changes. How do we, as a MarTech organization, build something both in people and technology wise that can live with that growth?
Right.
And here's an interesting thing that I always share with people is that you don't always try to grow with the company. You will never be able to catch up. You can never change the organization so that you can accommodate every marketing scenario. But what you want to build is you want to build staircases. Each time, each phase that you bring the talent in, you want to prepare them for this amount of time. So there are lots of changes going to happen. But before you can get to that second staircase, right, you're building enough flexibility that prepares you for that second staircase. And at some point, you're going to exceed that, and you go, okay, well, I'm ready for that second step. And then you need to start evolving the team, evolving the entire company. You build new process so that you get that second staircase, and then you will have to live that set for that duration before you move to the third staircase, right? So it's not a linear growth or even exponential growth, but I picture the team moves more like a step. So each the step that we need to build, we need that amount of skill set. We need a set of business process that can prepare us for that second step. And this is the part that we do a lot of design, a lot of thinking, and bulletproofing, making sure that we can grow to that second step. Right? We don't want to fall before we even reach that second step.
Okay, last question, David. What are you looking for in people who are interested in joining ServiceNow, joining your team?
So for marketing technology team, we're a technology team. Technology is never stale, right? So when I look at people who is a good fit for the company and for my team, I like someone who are always looking for challenges and looking to innovate.
Okay.
We there's no programmer who always want to be stuck with programming COBOL. They want to try new things, take new approaches, right? Yeah, so that's definitely one of the top priority what I look for. But then I'm also looking for a very balanced team, and I see that there will be a lot of people who are on the team that's really good executioner. There are people who are very analytical, people who are great in process, and then there are people who are very innovative. Right? You can't have someone that's you cannot be hiring an entire team who are perfect in all
Right.
four corners. But
Okay.
yeah, so definitely what I'm looking for is a very balanced team, but with innovation at heart.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure that some folks who are watching the show here might be interested in pinging you. So thank you very much, David, for being on the show and talking with us about marketing technology, ServiceNow, and some of the best practice in organizing teams.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
There you have it, folks. Take it up with Jessica Lee, David Shao from ServiceNow.